Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Right about now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you why I bought the Harley Davidson Road Glide. So I guess this video will be like my 5 reasons of why I chose the Harley Davidson Road Glide. So let's hit the road and let's talk about some of these reasons. Guys, so before I start the list, I want to say that the reasons that I'm about to give you are my own opinions. They are not facts. So before you guys go crazy in the comments below, all right, and start a war or something with other viewers or other commenters or whatever, just want to let you know that these reasons are my opinions. This is what I researched. I thought that, you know, the reasons that I came with is what I thought of before pulling the trigger on the Road Glide. So like I said, these are not facts. You know, they may or may not be true, so don't take this to heart. These are just my reasons. So without further ado, let's go ahead on to reason number 1, and we're gonna get into it straight away. It's gonna be the most controversial one, and that is function. By that I mean the fairing. Long battle going between street glide and road glide. So here's the thing, guys. Let me just say this. When I first saw the touring bikes, when I had my Harley Davidson V-Rod muscle, at that time the touring bikes were just a little out of my reach, and all I saw was street glides, and I was like, wow, this thing, the Batwing fairing, and I was like, man, it is the most sexy looking bike there is. And I just fell in love with it. I was like, it will be my goal that in the future, when I'm able to afford that bike, I will own a street glide. Well, guess what? That never happened. That future never came. But what did happen was I was able to afford a touring bike, and I chose the Road Glide. And when I saw the Road Glide for the first time, I was like, what? And this was the Rushmore project, you know, because my V-Rod muscle was, I think, 2012 or 13, I can't remember. So a couple of years later, when I saw the Road Glide, I was like, what is this beautiful thing? And fell in love with it. So I did some research, and here is the reason why I say function. That is because the frame, the fairing is frame mounted. Now I know a lot of you guys will say that doesn't make a difference, that's garbage, you know, whatever. But I mean, I'm not gonna say that this is a fact, but it is just one of those things that a frame mounted fairing versus a fork mounted fairing, in my opinion, will be a little bit lighter in slower speeds. Your handlebars will feel a little bit lighter in slower speeds, and you will have better wind management with a frame mounted fairing. So what do I mean by that? Now here's the thing. Harley sells a lot of street glides. I mean, arguably probably more than the road glides. Although I'll tell you one thing, and this is, I'm sure most of you will agree with me, is that the road glides are becoming popular and popular. They have closed the gap. Street glides are a couple $100 more expensive, but being that it is fork mounted, if you hit a wind gust on the highway, or if anything any kind of wind gust or you're crossing a truck. Now I'm not saying this will happen all the time, but there's chances your handlebar will shake a bit more. Why? Because I may be wrong again, but I'm just using my common sense here, because the frame is handlebar, it's mounted to the forks. Sorry, the fairing, I mean, is mounted to the forks. Anytime wind hits the fairing, your handlebars will tend to shake. Now I'm not saying this happens all the time, but it will happen. Compare that to a frame mounted fairing, that will happen a lot less, if it does. Your handlebars will stay stable. So that is the first reason why I purchased a Road Glide, was because of the frame mounted fairing. Now I know a lot of people will not like how far this is. It's like a spaceship. I can't even reach the radio controls there. Like, I have to lean forward and do it. I'm comfortable with it, but you can control everything you need to on your screen with the toggle switches on each side of the handlebar. So I really don't see the issue there. Number 2 reason why I chose the Road Glide also has to do with the fairing, and that is the looks. I mean, God, just look at this thing, man. Tell me, I mean, if you are deciding between a Road Glide and a Street Glide, I will not knock down the looks of the Street Glide at all, because that's the bike that I fell in love with until I saw this bike. And I gotta tell you, the shark nose to me is more attractive than the Batwing. And like I said, that is personal preference. That's my opinion, that's my preference. To me, the shark nose looks amazing, especially with those dual lights up front. I mean, I just can't deny how sexy the Road Glide looks. It's just, I mean, I love it. I love it. So yeah, the fairing is definitely, in terms of form. So number 2, I guess, would be form, and that would be the looks of the fairing. I just love it. I know it makes the bike look longer or bigger, but man, it just looks beefy, and I just prefer the shark nose looks better than the Batwing look. Let's move on to number 3, which is the headlights. So here's my thing. The shark nose has 2 headlights up front, and they're both LED day makers. Okay, that makes a huge difference. Now, my bike is a standard bike, so I'm just gonna compare it to a standard Street Glide, and not any other trim levels, like, you know, CVO or special or anything like that. But this is not to knock down the Street Glide at all, but when I was looking at both of these bikes, the other thing that stood out was the headlights. Now, being that this is cheaper than the Street Glide, it still has dual LED lights on there, and those are day makers. I mean, you guys, in this day and age, I'm sure you also realize what a difference that makes. I mean, it's pretty much night and day difference having regular bulbs versus LED bulbs. So big safety thing for me is visibility, and I think the Road Glide, in my opinion, gives you better visibility at night in terms of the headlights. So these are pretty strong day makers, and I have done a video of it riding at nighttime. You can watch that. I'll put a card up here somewhere, but the video doesn't do it justice. If you see these lights in person at night, it pretty much lights up the road, hence the name day makers that Harley uses. So that's the third reason why I chose the Road Glide, was because of the LED daymaker headlights. It comes from the factory standard. The fourth reason why I chose the Road Glide was because of storage, and I'm specifically talking about the fairing, the storage hair on the fairing. Now you have 2 pockets. One of them you can put the phone in, which actually fits. I have like the I've had the Max. I've already tried putting the Plus iPhones in there, and they fit no issues. I use a Samsung Galaxy Fold, so you know, those are pretty thick phones, and that's what I use on a daily basis. Matter of fact, it's plugged in right now with Android Auto going, and no issues. It fits in. On the left side, you have another deep pocket. It's not as big as the one on the right side where you can plug your phone in, but it is right up there in terms of space. That makes a big difference. I can throw my wallet, my keys, you know, in this glove box on the left side, and a couple more little items, and they'll fit in there, and I don't have to carry them in my pocket. So the storage is a big difference, and that's the reason I chose, because the shark nose fairing has bigger storage pockets on each side. Now my fifth reason that I chose a Road Glide is more of a generic reason, which has to do with the saddlebags, also storage. So this is not really just limited to Road Glide per se, because the Street Glide has the exact same saddlebags on the bike. Matter of fact, I think from the forks, behind the forks, the whole bike is exactly the same between the Road Glide and the Street Glide. The major difference you get is the major difference now, I don't know if the seat height is the same or not. Maybe the Street Glide will be a bit lower, but the major difference would be the fairing and the handlebars. So the bags are the same for both the touring bikes, and I love the bags. I mean, just look, like, I'm just going back home from work. In the morning when I left, it was like 50 degrees. I had my big, heavy winter jacket on, motorcycle riding jacket, which is a winter jacket with like 2-3 layers. I've got gloves, you know, I've got other stuff in there. I've got another layer of freeze out on the other side, and I've got my drone in there, and my laptop in there. I mean, there's so much stuff, as you can see, that I've put in there, and it all fit. I mean, I was getting it was getting tough to close the left side with the jacket in there, but it fit, it closed. That's a lot of stuff that you can fit in these bags if you buy a standard model like mine, which doesn't come with a tour pack. And I mean, that's probably gonna be a winner for me every time in buying a bagger. This one just happened to be a Road Glide, and that storage is amazing. I mean, there's other things which also are generic, like the fuel mileage is almost 48 miles per gallon is what I'm averaging. I mean, the power is going to be the same on the bikes and whatnot. I mean, those are just average stuff, but those are my 5 reasons why I chose the Road Glide. Now, I know that there's a lot of controversial stuff I've said, but again, guys, like I mentioned, this is based off of my opinions. These are not facts, may or may not be true, but these were the reasons that I looked at, and I chose the Road Glide. Now, coming back, this is not, I didn't want to make this into a Road Glide versus Street Glide video, but either bike is great. I don't want to say that one is better than the other. There's positive and negatives with this bike, and there's positive and negatives with the Street Glide as well. Those were the 5 reasons why I chose this bike, and I absolutely love it. If I had to do it all over again, it would be the same bike all over. If I had to do it all over again, I would choose the same bike again. So again, I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much. Please hit the like button, hit subscribe. If you have any questions or remarks or comments, go ahead and throw them down there, and I'll do my best to answer all of them. And once again, I appreciate it, guys, and until next time, ride safe.